Welcome to the Immigrant's Way podcast with the immigration attorney Margaret W. Wong with over 40 years of experience. Enjoy.
Hey, today's topic is asylum after November 20th, 2020. The White House came up with a new rule on October 20, 2020, saying that 30 days later, which makes it November 2020, and the 20th day, that there's certain requirements that you can no longer file asylum. There are two things. If you file asylum after November 20th, 2020, and if you have an act or conviction of a criminal record or something after November 2020, you can no longer file for asylum. I'm not talking about you cannot file because you don't get a work permit. I'm talking about clearly you could not file, all right? So now let's talk about what is asylum, and I'll explain to you why the November 2020. Actually, it's a pretty lucky day, it's November 2020. Asylum is fear of going back to your home country. So let's assume I'm from Syria, but I'm born in Dubai, because Dubai, they don't give you citizenship. And my parents are from Syria, but lived in Dubai for 30 years. My home country is Syria, even though I've lived and my parents worked in Dubai since the day I'm born. So now what you need to do is, the home country is Syria. So if you file asylum, the fear is going back to Syria, even though you do carry a Syrian passport, but even though you lived and worked forever in Dubai. Number one is where your home is from. Number two, you have to have a fear of nationality, race, member of a special group, political opinion. It's just the concept. I'm teaching you how to think like an immigration lawyer so you can help your clients who are immigrants like us. So after November 2020, you could no longer file an asylum if the person had committed an act or convicted of a crime or have reason to believe certain crimes were committed, out of which is, if you were committed like a lot of times in the past 20, 30 years, if you come through illegally, left and come back illegally, the prosecutors there charge you with illegal entry or illegal re-entry. That's a criminal case. You can no longer do it. And then alien harboring, that means, for example, I own a restaurant. I bring my staff members back and forth to work. And also I rent an apartment so they can live there, so they can be closer to work. And then they can always go home on the weekends, or their family can stay with them because I rent the apartment in my name for them or in their name for them. That's called alien harboring. You can no longer do asylum. So be careful. Even if you have a business, if you rent an apartment for people who have no papers, that could always be construed as illegal transport because you bring them back and forth in your own car, or you hire a driver to drive you, or alien harboring. All right. The thing is the reason to believe gang things. So right now the law is, as long as you have a conviction, you need a conviction, DUI and stuff. The only difference is you don't need a conviction, but as long as the officer have reason to believe that you are on, you have a drug problem. So in the olden days, most Jamaicans, they put their drugs, or certain nationality people, they put their drugs in the luggage, in a seam, or put it underneath their socks and their heels, and they'll come in, or even from Thailand or going to Thailand. Now, if they look at you and they say, oh, you look like you are transporting drugs, but after November 20th, 2020, the reason to believe is it looks like you belong to a gang member. So make sure you don't have tattoos. A lot of, especially us American people, or me, I'm a Chinese, we don't understand those tattoos. So a lot of times if you have tattoos on a neck, or you have a tear tattoo under your eye, immigration may think you belong to a gang. It could be just you want to memorial your mother or your father. So be careful of tattoos and stuff like that. So if you have a DUI, but if you harm someone and causing serious injury or death, all right? That's not good. Or if you already have one DUI and you started having a second one, that's not good. Also, child abuse, that's very serious. Anytime you have DUI, just common sense, no selling drugs. I mean, actually, no selling drugs. But if you sell drugs, don't do it by a school or by a church. Don't sell. And then always think of child abuse, child trafficking, minor. Also, a lot of people like us, we couldn't get a driver's license. So a lot of times I'll use my friend's birth certificate, my friend's passport, and pretend I'm him or her and get a driver's license. Nowadays, if you do that after November 20th, you would not be able to file for asylum, which really is not good for people like us, because we have a lot of clients who came to America in the 60s and 70s. We just stay here. Now we have kids, we have grandkids, and we don't intend to go. So if you use someone's name for falsification, that's also a problem. And also if you have any felonies. So let's assume in Ohio, stealing from someone, even $500 is a felony, then you're stuck, no asylum, all right? So this is the new law on asylum. We'll meet again next time, and I love you all.